Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking out my third ever video on the YouTube channel. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on what's going on. So you'll notice that the video quality is much better on this video than on the previous two. So I'm working on upgrading some of the equipment that I have. I was using the camera on my laptop, and then I realized that they really didn't put much thought into the video quality for that laptop. It's a great computer, but not great at recording videos. So for now I'm using my phone, and then later on hopefully I'll be able to upgrade to some new equipment. If you're interested, check out my two books. They're linked in the description below. They are also right here. First one is Gwen the Caterpillar. That's the story of change for younger children, or even as an example of an analogy that you can use with older students. And there's also my second and most recent book. This is Finding Your Own Path, a guide for changing your life. Also in the description below, you'll find that I have recently launched eugenemock.com, and there you'll be able to read my weekly blog posts. You'll be able to link to future social media accounts. I'm working on setting up an Instagram and a Facebook to go along with this channel. I also have links to the YouTube channel, or you can email me there directly. As you will see if you check out the channel, I am posting a video on Saturdays now. This is just a random life video, giving advice on topics that I think are relevant to our community. You'll see that this week I'm posting a video on whether or not to get a dog. And this is a really tough discussion to have, because a lot of times we have it based on emotion and not reality and facts. So make sure to check that video out later this week. All right, so let's go ahead and get into today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that a lot of people are touchy about, but honestly, if you remove the emotion and the opinions out of it, this is not a controversial topic at all. It's just enlightening and eye-opening for everyone that's involved. So today's topic is actually going to be what causes people to get into and get stuck in poverty. Let's start with defining what poverty is. Now there's two different types of poverty. There's absolute poverty, and then there's relative poverty. We're going to start out with absolute poverty. This is how the World Bank defines poverty. So if you live in a less developed country or a third world country, the World Bank says that if you live on less than $1.90 a day, you're considered in poverty. Now, most of us here in the United States can't even begin to imagine living on $1.90 a day. So it just goes to show you the standard of living difference that we have here in the United States. All right, if you are in a middle income country, they say that if you can survive on $3.20 or less a day, you're living in poverty. And then for the developed world, or what we call advanced countries, we would look at an income of about $5.50 a day. That's how the World Bank defines poverty. Now, obviously, here in the United States, we have minimum wage laws, so no legally working individual should be ever living on $5.50 a day, but that's how the World Bank defines poverty. When you think about these standards of living, I don't even know what $5.50 a day would look like. Between housing, utilities, clothing, food, I cannot fathom $5.50 a day. Even if you're living well below your means, you're making really smart economic choices, I don't see how you do it. So if we take a look at my home state of Ohio, where minimum wage is $8.55 an hour, let's assume that an individual works 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, because most people who are earning minimum wage do not get paid time off. So that would bring your total annual salary to just under $18,000. Now let's throw into that the average house for, let's say, a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom in my area for rent is about $9,600 a year. That's roughly $700 a month. That doesn't include utilities, it doesn't include food, doesn't include things like childcare, anything like that. This doesn't even include taxes. So that's $17,784 before taxes. Subtract out your taxes, which is about 10% for someone in this wage bracket. You're already down about $1,700. Subtract out from that the $9,600 for rent. You don't have a lot left over to live on. So this is where we run into big problems with the minimum wage. And if you're just one person trying to live off of that, it becomes very difficult to be able to sustain any type of decent lifestyle on that kind of a wage. Now, in comparison to that lifestyle, someone like myself with a college education can earn easily between $40,000 and $80,000 a year in my area. So that's anywhere from 2.5 times to nearly 3 or 4 times the minimum wage. So let's get into the 5 categories that primarily make up why individuals get stuck in poverty. Okay, so number 1, the first reason that people get stuck in poverty in the United States, and there's a couple inside of here, but it's social inequality, whether that's pay differential, education, opportunities, employment, anything that divides the country based on income level or unequal treatment based on where you're located in society or where your standing is. So for someone like myself, I'm in the middle class now, but I wasn't born there. I was born on the welfare system. I lived in poverty most of my life growing up, and even part of my adult life. So once I was able to pursue higher education, I was able to get better jobs and receive higher pay. However, before I received my 2 degrees, my pay level was between $5 when I first started working, and even right after I got my first degree, I was only making about $9 an hour. So neither of those are much more than the current minimum wage, and it would have been very difficult to live on either of those wages. The second category is the skills gap, and this is where, in my personal opinion, we find the biggest downfall for people who get stuck in poverty. You don't need a college education to work your way out of poverty. I know a lot of schools and individuals push for a college education, and a college education changed my life. So don't get me wrong that college can't change your life. It most definitely can. I'm living proof of that. But you don't need it. You can go to trade school, you can get trained in the military, you can get on-the-job training. There are options for people other than college. So don't think that that's the only way to take on a whole bunch of student loan debt or try and get grants to go to school. There are other ways if you don't want to go to college. So let's take a look at some of this. So the world economy is changing. When my grandfather was young, he could go downtown, apply in the morning, have the job by noon. That's not the way it is here, at least in my town, and probably in most of the United States because of the global economy. We've outsourced a lot of manufacturing jobs, and those jobs were good paying union jobs here in the United States. However, big business and corporate America have decided to move to more profitable places to produce their products. I'm not mad at them for that. They're trying to produce quality of a product at the lowest cost possible. Being a high school business teacher, it makes perfect sense. But when you think about the human side of that decision, it has consequences. Just in one town over, a General Motors plant got closed down a couple years ago, and about 1,000 people lost their jobs. So there was a human impact with that business decision. So there's a lot to consider when making those business decisions, and I don't believe that they're easy for any CEO or board of directors. They're trying to make their shareholders happy, make a profit, provide a good product, and keep their workers employed. But getting back to the skills gap, if you have just a basic high school diploma or you didn't graduate high school and you've received no additional training, you're going to struggle to find a higher paying job because most employers are looking for someone who has something different to add to their community or to their organization. If you have the same skills that 500,000 other people in your city can offer that same employer, they have no incentive to hire you. So therefore, you either stay low on the pay scale or you stay unemployed. So skills are especially important to develop. And in the day and age of the internet, there really is no excuse for not learning new skills, learning software, programs, or just working on professional development. And living in the 21st century, you really have no excuse for not developing your skills. Simply between Google and YouTube, I learned more in a week than I did in my entire college program. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't learn a lot in my college program, but the information you can get from books is so much slower than the information you can get online or from a YouTube video. You can knock out a podcast in an hour or an audiobook in a couple of hours when it used to take you several hours or even days to finish that same book or to find information about that same podcast topic. So personal development is going to be huge if you want to move up in the workplace or get a pay raise. Because over the last 60 years, what people have seen is that those low skill, high paying jobs, they're going other places where it's cheaper to hire people. The average union factory job here in my area used to be about $20 to $30 an hour. If a big corporation can send those same jobs and get the same product to a country where they can pay $5 an hour, it's a no-brainer. They're saving huge amounts of money. And as a business, they have to keep their profits up and keep their shareholders happy. So you got to prepare for that. If you don't make yourself indispensable, they're going to give your job to somebody else who will do it cheaper. It's just the way the economy works. So one thing I've seen in my classroom over the last couple of years is that my high school kids are having trouble finding jobs at basic places like McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, stuff like that, because they're competing for these jobs with people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't know about everybody else, but I can't imagine being in my 30s or 40s and still working fast food. Sure, I did it in high school and in college, but there's no way I'd still want to do those jobs. So, but some people don't have a choice. If you don't have the skills to do something else or you don't have the education to move up, it's difficult. And to be stuck in that position is very unfortunate. And that's why I really encourage people to train themselves, get professional development, do whatever you can to move out of that situation. Even if you're just moving up in the company. At 30 years old, you shouldn't be applying for a crew member job at McDonald's. If that's your reality, okay, we'll start there and then we'll get you moving up in the ladder. But hopefully your goal is to not have to do that for much longer. All right, so let's move on. We'll be talking about the skills gap a lot in this channel, and I'm really going to hammer on that because for me personally, that's what made the difference in my life. I couldn't control government policy. I couldn't control what happened in the workforce. I could control my level of expertise, my training, my education. Those are things that I could control. By controlling those things, I was able to take advantage of more and more opportunities and make more and more money over time. So let's move into the third major category of why people get stuck in poverty. And these are major life changes. Now, these are things that you don't necessarily have any control over. They can happen at any time, and we have to be prepared for those things. So first on the list is the loss of a job. The people who worked in the factories around my area, They didn't choose to lose their $30 an hour job. No. A business corporation in another state made a decision to send those jobs to another country where the labor was cheaper. And now these individuals have to find a new job that will provide for their family. And it's hard to replace a $30 an hour job these days. I make that, but I also have a master's degree. If you're a general laborer or you work on an assembly line, those jobs don't exist in my area anymore. So your skills, although they're valuable and they would provide a great income at one point, they're just not in demand in this location anymore. So that's number one. Number two, divorce. This has a huge financial burden on any family who goes through a divorce, especially if there are children involved and assets are connected. So if you have to divide all that up, now you're splitting it in half. So let's say that you're a mom or a dad and now you have 2 kids to raise all on your own because your significant other decided to leave. Now you're missing an income. You don't have the assistance at home, so you might have to hire some extra help, find somebody to watch the kids after school until you get home. There's a lot in there, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But raising kids on your own is a huge job, and one of the reasons I don't have children yet. I was busy putting my life together, making sure that I was financially stable. Yeah, I'll be the old dad at graduation, but that's okay. All right, life event number 3, a death in the family. Again, cuts in income, less people to help out around the house, help with kids. That's going to have a severe impact on the family's financial future. Not even including the cost of a funeral. You got to figure out how to pay for that. I know when my grandmothers passed away, they both passed away in the same year. So my family had to figure out how to pay for 2 funerals within 1 year. So that's definitely gonna have a major impact on your family's finances. And then the last one there is disability. If you get hurt at work, a lot of those factory jobs or manual labor jobs, there's a higher chance of getting hurt. I work in a classroom and at a desk most of the time, so I'm not as likely to get hurt. But if you work in a steel mill or a factory or an auto plant, yeah, your chances of getting hurt are much, much higher. So those are things that you have to be aware of and possibly even plan for. All right, number 4, the category for why people get stuck in poverty or get into poverty in the first place. And this is the evolving family structure. So we talked a little bit about how divorce or death of a spouse could impact the family's finances, and I want to go a little bit further into this. So since the 1960s, we've seen a huge increase in the number of kids born into single-parent households. For whatever reason, that number has gone from 7% all the way up to 25% in 2017. And we've seen an even bigger jump in that number for minority households. And I'm not going to speculate why that is. Okay, so the problem here is if you're a high-skilled worker making a good salary, bringing home a good income, this may not be as big of a deal for you because you can afford childcare, you can afford to live in a good school district and make sure that your kid has everything they need. However, if you're a low-skilled, low-income worker, this is going to be pretty hard to raise a child on. I have a dog, and I know how expensive she can be. I can't imagine trying to raise a child on minimum wage. We did some of the math a little bit ago. After taxes and rent, you have like $8,000 to try to figure out how to make it through the year. Yeah, there's some government programs that can help you out, but it's still going to be pretty difficult. So again, having 2 incomes is always going to make it easier because if you take the minimum wage here in Ohio and you multiply that by 2, even if you're both working minimum wage, now you're looking at an income closer to about $30,000 or just a little bit more than $30,000. It's a whole lot easier to raise a family on $30,000 than it is on $17,000. I believe that the federal poverty guidelines, a family of 4, if you make more than $26,000 a year, you're not considered to be in poverty. You might still struggle, but you're not considered in poverty. And to make less than that, I can't see how you physically do it. And we'll get into more about government assistance and things like that. Actually, that's reason number 5 that people get stuck in poverty is government policy. I'm not going to go into the politics of it at this time. I might in a future video, but sometimes the government makes bad decisions for people or doesn't allow people to make their own decisions for what's best for their family. Alright guys, we're going to wrap it up. I don't want this video to go too long, so if you like the content you're hearing and you want to help keep this channel going and make sure that we can continue to improve the quality, check out my 2 books on Amazon. They're available between $12 and $13, and all of that money goes directly into supporting new content, helping keep this channel going and improving it. If you hit the notification button, you'll get updated every time I post a video. Make sure to subscribe. That really helps out the channel. Hit the like button so we can get this content out to as many people as possible. Alright guys, until next time, have a good day.